Welcome to the Long Island Sound Podcast, where we explore the muse and the music, from the North Shore to the South Shore, from New York City to the Hamptons, navigating the wellspring of original music from singer-songwriters and musicians from Long Island, New York. Hi, I'm Steve Yusko from GigDestiny.com. Stay tuned as we explore the Long Island Sound. You are in for a rock and roll treat in today's episode. There's no apologies from the Somehow Sorry Band. You'll meet the fun-loving duo who formed the core of the band, John and Rainey McCarthy, who bring energy and excitement to our conversation and through their original music. We'll uncover the artists behind the music and learn how they navigate the music industry waters of the Long Island Sound. Here's a sample of what you can expect as we play one of their many songs, Baby Jaded. Each guest on the podcast has been generous with referring new and interesting guests, and today is no exception. Joe Pickett introduced our next guests, and I'm excited to introduce them to you. Lorraine, or Rain, and John McCarthy are the husband and wife duo who brought the Somehow Sorry Band to my attention. Hailing from Long Island, this American rock band was influenced by many rock and folk groups. The Somehow Sorry Band was developed from an earlier band called The Divine Right. They established themselves in the hard rock era of the 80s and 90s. They have many original songs to their credit, which we'll dive into during this episode. And with that introduction, welcome to the podcast, Rain and John.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
Good to see you. I tell you, I am amazed. Every week I do a podcast, and it turns out I get to meet 2 or 3 or 4 people, that my guests refer, which was just really a great blessing. So I thank you for being on the show. It's going to be great. You're a husband and wife duo. I would assume you met through music. Is that true?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
We did, yes.
Back in like 4th grade, or
No.
give me some background to the
1991,
Early 90s.
92.
Early 90s. Yep.
Okay, all right. Now Rain. I'll start with you. Where did you get your musical chops? When did you pick up an instrument and start to play?
Folk group, church,
Okay,
about 14.
nice. The Kumbaya and
Yeah, we actually had a very cool folk group. It was all guitars. It was guitars and tambourines.
Right.
So the pastor of the church was unique in that sense. It wasn't like hallelujah kind of stuff. So we actually rocked it up a bit.
Nice.
And it's for credit to the St. Matthew's folk group. I'm going to plug them.
Oh, you have Dix Hills, right?
Dix Hills. We actually played in Madison Square Garden for the Pope's inauguration.
Oh my God!
Wow.
How crazy is that?
Little bit of
That's my
pressure,
big
huh?
claim to
Yeah,
fame.
really.
And I was 14.
And John, how about you? How did you start?
I started playing the guitar probably around 11 or 12 years old. I had a friend who lived up the street from me, and he was playing, and he was a big Beatle fan, so he kind of turned me on to that whole sound, and it just kind of went from there. And I went and took lessons at a regular music store once a week, and I did that for about a year, and most of that was reading, and I kind of play by feel, so I didn't stay with the lessons. I might have done it for about a year, and then I just kind of went off on my own journey, and it's
Nice.
been that way ever since. Yeah.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I started guitar late in my late 20s.
Mhm.
I got past the first 3 chords, and it was too damn hard. for
It's
me.
not easy. Yeah.
And that guitar, which is on the wall still,
Right.
sat for a long time. And what helped me, to be honest with you, was YouTube and
Right.
and guitar tabs. Once somebody could show me,
Yeah.
and then I got the bug. There's always
Yeah.
that one influential person who invites you, say, "Oh, come play along with us."
Right.
Which that happened in my life. I was totally horrified how I played, but I was inspired to get better because I thought I could.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Me, I wound up lying. I could play maybe 1 or 2 chords, and I
Right.
wanted to join the folk group so much. I lied to the church. First thing is,
That's why they have confession.
And I
lied to the church.
I lied to the church and said I could play when in actuality I knew maybe 1 or 2 chords. But what I did was I followed the hand
Well, you
pattern.
fake it till you make it.
That's
all.
right. You took the words out of my mouth, brother.
And then from there, I guess I never thought I could sing. That wasn't really I just wanted to play the guitar.
Mhm.
And because my sister used to make fun of me all the time when I would try to sing, so I figured I couldn't sing.
Right.
And then one day someone heard me, and then it went from there. You got to sing. I'm like, oh my God,
Somebody
no.
encouraged you. That's
Somebody
what you need. You
encouraged
need someone
me,
who
yes,
encouraged you.
yes.
Right. Well, leave it to siblings that'll knock you down a peg, and hopefully you bounce back. Right.
Today she is my biggest fan, so I will give her a thumbs up for that.
That's nice. You know what? It's a lot of work. Just find. You know what I struggle with? I struggle with finding that first note to lead off a song.
Right.
And my wife will attest to that with great tenacity. that's one of my struggles. So out of the gate, you're both in your early teens, and you get the itch, so to speak, to do this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Who's well, before we jump even further, who are the other members of the band? Just give us a little background.
Oh, sorry.
No, apologize.
Paul Magiri, bass player. He happens to be my eldest nephew.
Okay.
And James Bosco, Jimmy, drummer.
Excellent. And were they part of the Divine Right group at all? Like, did they morph out of that, or you guys are the 2 original members of that group?
Johnny wasn't an original member, but he was a very early starting member. I started the band with a guy by the name of Rob Henderson, guitar player, and he was more one of those closet kind of players. And it was more, yeah, we got to do this. We got to get a band. We got to do it. So we weren't expecting to get a second guitarist, except that our drummer at the time kept saying to us, "You got to hear Johnny McCarthy. You got to hear Johnny McCarthy." And I'm like, yeah. So sure enough, he brought him along one day, and he sat on our front porch at Rob's house. And we said, "You want to try to jam? We hear a lot of good things. You never know what you're
Yeah, right, exactly.
And sure enough, he came down to a practice, and we were like, "Wow, okay, definitely great guitarist." And lo and behold, after we had him join the band, I had him start singing. So that really brought things to life for us. But Paulie was just about 14 or 15 when
that was going on.
When we started playing, and he would come to. We used to sneak him into gigs. We were in Sundance and Tommy Knockers and the Roxy, all the clubs he shouldn't have even been in.
Right.
We used to sneak him in because he was just so in awe, because he was a guitar player. Is a guitar player, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy came along later on by answering an ad.
Wow, that's great. And now since you got the nephew in, it makes the band more solid. He ain't leaving.
No, he ain't going.
When Divine Right, we played with Divine Right, I guess it was about 7 or 8 years, and we were more of a hard rock metal. Metal. I'm not really a metal singer at all. My roots are based in folk music, Sure. I like Carole King, stuff from that era, John Denver, really a mellow side. But yeah, I love the stage and rock and roll, and because there's nothing like it, Wow. So from that, we decided years later, after the band broke up, Divine Right broke up. A couple of years later, we decided to form another band. We figured we'd try again. Johnny and I were only friends, by the way.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, no. Come on.
He just, by the way, for the audience listening, he just held up the okay sign. Smart man.
We totally were. We were friends, and I knew he liked me, but we were best friends. And when we started singing together, we would play a show, and 2:00 in the morning, he would come down into the studio after the show. We were just exhausted, and he'd start playing, and we'd sing, and that's how we kind of crafted our sound. And then after Divine Right broke up, about a year later, I had Jet Giant tickets.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? Let me give him a car ball. Maybe he'll want to go. I'm not thinking it was a date.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess at that moment in time, I said, okay, maybe I could maybe think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not marrying him, so
that's great. It's so
history.
neat. You're the first husband and wife team that I've interviewed in music. So I'm kind of
25 years, and we're still sitting next to each other. That's pretty good.
God bless you. Yeah, I'll be married 30, and as my wife says, it's the best 10 years of her life. So,
God bless.
So, but it's funny because it's when you're able to share that art together, that's great. I find it very interesting, and that's you're connecting on a different level.
Yeah.
Because I think many times in music, it's a level of communication, at least for me, that is a way to express yourself that you might not be able to express in words or in conversation, but you can do it in song. Yeah. So apparently, you guys have the best of both worlds. Obviously, you get along.
Also healthy for the marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, now, we don't do it with visions of grandeur in our eyes anymore, but we do it still with the same zest and love for it as we did when we first started out. And I think in times it has kept the marriage strong.
That's great.
Yeah. You might not agree, but hey.
No, he agrees. No,
he agrees. He does.
Well, what's interesting as there is that. It's not marriage advice, but early in marriages and groups and stuff, there's that survival instinct. Okay, we got to make it. We got to reach certain goals. And then I think when we start to get very comfortable with ourselves, I am who I am. I'm very comfortable with the group, and there's kind of like an exhale, and you could really just have fun with what you're doing. And when you have fun with what you're doing, you can really create some great art.
And you do it better. Right? You improve because when you exhale, you improve. You really do.
You do, and the longer you do it, and that's the wonderful thing about being an artist. The longer you play and you maintain, you keep your voice. It's not like you lose it after time. As long as you keep playing, you keep getting better. And that's what I have found personally as a singer.
Yeah, you know, as you honor your craft. I mean, you take what you do seriously, you have fun with it, but I'm sure you're careful with your voice, you're careful with what you do with your fingers, playing your instrument,
Yeah.
and you take that as my dad was a mechanic. He goes, take care of your tools, and he wasn't just talking about the wrenches that I would leave out in the
Yeah.
lawn that I would run with a
Right.
lawnmower, but it was a good lesson in life. Take care of your
Yeah,
tools,
absolutely.
and
It
you.
will take care of you.
Yeah.
My dad always said, if you maintain your car, it will always be good to you. And that was one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me, especially being a girl, you know.
So why don't we do this? Let's take a really short break, and then what I really love to get into is I really want to talk on the music business side of it, about getting gigs, how you guys brought your success, and how you go, because a lot of people are curious about that, especially with the changing times in music. So
Sure.
stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back with Rain and John. Hi, Steve Yusko from Gig Destiny here. Well, as you're probably listening to this podcast, you're probably thinking about that musician who would make a fantastic guest here on the Long Island Sound. Well, we'd like to hear their story. We'd like to hear their music. So have them reach out to us at gigdestiny.com, and we'll explore their craft. Now, back to our podcast. Hey, we're back on, everybody, and we're with Rain and John McCarthy of the Somehow Sorry Band. Great, interesting name. First of all, you got to tell me, how did you name the band, and who named the band?
That was, well, you know, did you ever like be sorry for something, but you're not really sorry, so you're somehow sorry?
I'm married. That's the state I live in most of the time. I'm sorry for stuff I didn't even know I did.
Yeah.
See, Johnny and I have a lot of yin and yang, I'd say, when it comes to our vocals. I always think of, what is that? Yin and yang, right? That sign,
Yeah,
that
yep,
flower on my
the
thing.
black and white. Yep.
Right.
So that's kind of, if you look at the logo, the somehow reflects the sorry in a sense. Wrote down a bunch of names that we liked, and that was the one name that we all agreed upon. It's boring. I know, boring as far as how it came to pass.
The original name of the band was, I'm not even sure if I won't say it because I don't know if I can say it. It's the SHIT word, and giggle.
Yeah,
and
this is podcast. We're good.
So it's that
the
and
shits and giggles.
Just like Shih Tzu, like the dog, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that was the
Original
I named
name.
it. I liked the name. I thought it was funny and irreverent.
You know, for shits and giggles.
And then we went to do the first album, and the producer's like, "You got to change the name. I'm not working with a band. You're gonna have to get a more professional name." So I think Lorraine punched into the band names into the computer, and they punched out a whole bunch of names. And somehow, Sorry was the only one we could all agree on. So we went with it.
And
That's where it came from.
So I want to make T-shirts up that say "Are you somehow?"
Nice.
Somehow Sorry.
So you have original music out there. I'm not very interesting, but I'm very interested on how you approach the business side of the music business. You know, from getting gigs to
Painstakingly.
how did you piece together the first album that you produced and all that? So
Right.
let's just talk about
First Somehow Sorry album.
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
We put together like an LP, call it Pair. And it's kind of like a demo, because we are still feeding off a couple of songs off of that never really came to fruition. You know,
Okay.
It never kind of bloomed, so to speak. We did release the LP. It is on Spotify, but it really is a demo. That album wasn't with Paulie, and it wasn't with Jimmy. It was just Johnny and I, and we had a studio bassist and a studio drummer, and we just wanted to see how we sounded and lay down some tracks. And we did it at Modern Voices Records, and they were located out in Ronkonkoma. Chris Patty was the producer on that. I'm not too sure if you know him or not. And it was great, because it was a true test that, okay, maybe we could start to look for musicians, form a band, actually be a group kind of thing. And that was before Somehow Sorry even had its name. And then after that, and it was, I guess, 2005, we started getting more serious with the project, and we were like, the first thing we got to do is find a drummer. And over the years, when we were in Divine Right and the drummers were just impossible to find. You could find them, but finding a good one was really a chore.
Arduous. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it just to fit our style, I guess. We tend to have a little bit of a groove to our music, and we very dynamic. I love playing with dynamics, a lot of ups and downs, and take you on little turns and valleys, so to speak. And haphazardly, Johnny had wrote. We were in Guitar Center in Comac, and he put an ad up on the bulletin board, looking for drummer wanted. Sure enough, and we were jamming at the time with another fella, and we weren't really 100% on him. But, happens that
be
way.
honest, sure.
Yeah. And Jimmy had called me. I was cooking dinner. It was a Sunday, and he called, and he's like, "Yeah, hi, my name is Jim Bosco. I saw your ad, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, we already have one. He's like, well, wait, in case it doesn't work out or what have you, would you, consider at least listening to me? I guess I was being abrupt with them, and I should have been more abrupt, maybe. No, I love you, Jim. But I said, well, where do you live? And he said, East Northport. And I was like, hey, you live in East Northport. Okay. All right. So why don't you come to, I can be there in 10 minutes. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. How about, let me make a couple of phone calls, because I got to get a bass player down here and what have you. And so I think it was maybe that day or next day or what have you. Our friend Rob from Divine Right came down, because it's always nice to have another set of ears.
Sure.
Especially someone who's familiar with your sound and style.
Right.
And I was upstairs when Jimmy came in the house, and you were too, right? And Rob was already down the basement, and we heard his first snap of his snare, and I think he jumped down the snares. I don't even think he hit all 13 steps. And I was like, yeah, this guy's got something.
That's great.
Sure enough, not only does Jim have the chops, but Jim as an artist and a creator, a friend, and also someone who loves, absolutely eats, breathes, and sleeps this band. And at our age, I'm not saying we're old, but we are adult musicians. You don't really find that.
Yeah, you need that energy. You need that energy to motivate you along.
That he really does. Nice. He's a kid at heart. Truly, he is. When it comes to the music, when it comes to our music, I should say. And then we were jamming with a bass player we started to jam with by the name of Chris Warren, another very good friend of ours. God rest him. He did pass away a few years back.
Sorry.
And Paulie, my nephew, would come to the shows, and he was older then. He could get into the bars at that point. Yeah, and it came to pass that Chris really, health-wise, couldn't commit. And he knew we needed somebody to commit. So Paul was like, I'll do it. I said, yeah, you gotta play the bass. He was a guitar player.
How often does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was young too, So right. I'm like, and within, I'd say, a month, he literally had all of our originals down. So
That's great.
Yeah, and we're still jamming.
All right, so now the band is formed. Okay, you've got your core group together. Okay, now what do you decide? Hey, we're gonna write music, we're gonna put music together, or we're gonna go and get our chops out with the group. Maybe it's everything. Do you use a promoter? Was it all just grit and doing your own promotion? How did you approach the business?
Well, the business end of it, we had started with going back to Modern Voices Records in 2007.
Right.
We had 10 songs that we really felt strong about, and we wanted to get back into the studio. We also wanted to do a video, form of production, so forth. And we went back to Modern Voices. At that point, Chris Patty was under Guru Project. So we went to Chris, and we spent a lot of money putting down these 10 tracks. And we got 10 songs out of it. Some of them on that album we are very proud of. And some of them we feel that, certain recording techniques could have been, elaborated on. I guess.
Gotcha. Sure.
Right.
I don't know. But we had hoped that Chris was going to be able to do some promotion and so forth, but it really didn't work out for us as a band. So at that point, the independent artist was becoming extremely the way to go.
Right.
And we felt at that time it was time to make a break and go about it under our own esteem. So we started doing some festivals and started pushing the album, and everything was really starting to percolate for the first initial 2 years.
Wow.
And sadly, in 2009, Jimmy was in a terrible car accident where he was on a bicycle and he had gotten hit on a bicycle. So that side railed us for 10 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
And
the height of the recession, 2009 kicked in. So a lot of difficulties.
Craziness went on there. So at that point, Johnny and I continued to play acoustically and write. But our son was also, he's getting older and he was getting into sports and all that kind of stuff. So Jimmy had moved up to New Hampshire. He was married. He had married someone from New Hampshire, and they moved up there because monetarily speaking, it was just easier for them.
Sure.
And we perfectly understood that. And we didn't even know at that point if Jim could ever even play the drums again. Because he had pretty much broken just about every bone in his body. Yeah. It was a tough time for us as a band. And we always just stayed in contact. And once in a while, he would come down. And over the years, you could see he started getting better and quicker again. And he's like, I'm playing again. So he wound up playing up there with another band. And then in 2019, he got divorced and came back home.
and he's back in the band.
So we kind of decided, because my son and now he's a big guy. We don't have to worry too much about the raising end of things.
Yeah.
You always have to
your job is done.
Well, Jim came back. We started doing shows. We started to get together. We were rehearsing back on a schedule, writing new stuff, picking up where we left off, and then the pandemic hit. So that screwed everything up.
So let me ask,
another year,
Let me ask you about the songwriting aspect of it. So, are you both songwriters? Do you collaborate? Does somebody do lyrics? Somebody do music?
Or how does it? Johnny collaborate, and Jim more on the writing end of it. I throw lyrics in here and there. They don't particularly like my writing. I write sappy love songs.
Gotcha.
No, but we have collaborated.
Yeah, we all kind of do. We all kind of contribute to it.
That's really neat. You know what? I was just thinking as you were talking about your drummer and the accident. It's amazing how those people that I've known and I know a couple have had terrible accidents, how their instrument really was the physical therapy to bring things back for them.
Right. Yeah.
And woodshedding your instrument is like woodshedding physical therapy,
Yeah.
But if you're able to try to get back to where you were, I mean,
drums are a very physical instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
Guy broke his back.
We never officially broke up, but we really had our doubts about whether we'd ever play with him again.
Right. You were sidelined. You don't know what life's going to throw at you.
And then finding a drummer of Jim's caliber
is hard.
And we were like, oh my God, we're never going down that road again.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So it's interesting. What I find interesting, especially because you've gone through these different phases of the band, and then throw the pandemic on it, which really threw a monkey wrench into things. It also gave people time to be creative, in my view. It also gave many people time to say, how do I get my art out there? How do I make a living, particularly if you're making a living as a musician?
Right.
I've seen a lot of cool things on Facebook and Twitches. I'm getting into that now. It's just another platform that's very interesting.
Right.
That people are exploring. But then, I was thinking about, and you mentioned you have songs up on Spotify, and I've quoted this in other episodes where, the printing business totally changed when the desktop printer came along. Right. Same thing with the music business, in that you can get your stuff through CD Baby or whomever.
Absolutely.
Up on everything.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the monster Spotify's, which this podcast is on Spotify,
Right.
the artist gets, an eighth of a tenth of a nickel
Right.
if
Right.
they're lucky. So they're
Yeah.
using your art, and what do you do? Is the big question. So
Well,
festivals, yeah. Oh, go ahead. I don't
all
mean to
right.
answer for you, but I'm curious about your perspective.
We wrote our latest album, Same Great Taste, during the pandemic. We did the basic recordings at EKO Productions in Deer Park. Fabulous recording studio, fabulous bunch of guys that run it. Also live rehearsal.
Okay.
And then we brought them back, and I said, I'm going to engineer this. And by the grace of God, I don't know how, but I learned. I learned how to record. I did all of the tracks. We did it here, right at home, right in our home studio.
What did
And,
you use? What platform did you use? I'm just curious.
Personas, Cubase.
Cubase. Yep.
Cubase.
Okay. My friend Mike Nugent is a Cubase guy too.
Yeah.
There's
And,
Prologic, Cubase. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
and that's what we did during the pandemic. I was out of work during that time. Johnny was down to half days, right? Every
Right.
other day kind of thing. And
Yeah, when we got back together in 2019, and Jim had moved back, so we
Mhm.
picked up where we left off, and hey, there's the cat. And when we started to get some good shows, actually, we were excited. We did My Father's Place in Roslyn. We did a
that
couple
was
of
the
places
last
in
show,
Huntington,
My Father's
and these
Place.
were our first shows in 10 years. We were
Wow.
excited to kind of get back on it and do it. And then when the virus hit and everything shut down again, we were like, wow. So at that point, we looked at each other and said, well, maybe it's time to make the second album, It had been like 10 years. So we were like,
and we had
not,
always said,
So
wow, if
learned
we
all
could get that sound that we get at EKO. And I'm like, well, let's talk to Steve Forcelli. He's one of the owners there. I said maybe he wouldn't mind if we, did some basic tracks there. And so we had that live feel, because I think live we're a completely different animal.
Mhm.
So we did the basics there, and then we came back and recorded it here. And then Chrome Orange is a recording studio. Mark Gady, he used to work over at Tiki. He was an engineer for Tiki, at Tiki Recording Studios, excuse me. And he helped me along with all the learning of the Cubase. And he
Wow.
did some mixing for us. And then we wound up mastering it through kind of combination with Chrome Orange, mastered a couple of tunes, and then we use Major Decibel also to do the mastering for us. And for the year and a half, we were making an album.
Well, you know what they say: necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like with this podcast, I had to learn. I use Audacity to put it together, and when I jump into something, I jump in with 2 feet, and you figure it out. You get
Learn
better.
as you go. Sure.
Learn
yeah.
as you
Learn as
go.
you go. Fake it till you make it. We said that earlier.
That's right.
I got to ask you this. I'm sorry, I'm jumping on you. My
No, jump away.
Right before the how did you land the new My Father's Place in the Roslyn
Right.
Hotel? How did you land that? It's just through connections or phone
Actually,
calls?
my
Yeah.
girlfriend was or is, I'm not too sure, dating one of the guys that either worked there or is Epi,
Epi Epstein, sure.
Epi Epstein's right hand man. And she said, you got to call Epi, talk to him, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't call Epi. I don't know Epi. She
Right.
goes, oh, no, he's doing original bands again. And this is when the whole new My Father's Place came to be. And
we're old enough to remember Epi and who he is and the legend that was his.
Yeah.
So we were like, wow, imagine getting a gig there.
I mean, when I was a kid, my sister was going to the club. I wanted to be there, but I wasn't old enough,
Yeah.
Right.
So I did call him. I called him and I said, hi, I was introduced, by so-and-so. And I have a band. We're original. It's called Somehow
Turns out he's
Sorry.
a very personable old chap, and you like
He
that.
is.
Really is. He's the best. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not. He goes, do you know other original bands that have talent? And I was like, I know a couple. Yeah,
Well, what's
Says,
interesting?
I'll have you play a gig here, and can you book me some bands? And to this day, I still book bands for Happy.
That's great. He's. I haven't met him. he did an episode with Mike Nugent, my guitar teacher and my good friend. And what's interesting about what I heard about Epi is Epi wanted to stay true to his brand in the new My Father's Place. And I'm only getting this third hand is that, hey, you know what? I have the up and comings and the people that are on their way, were famous and original and what have you. And the rumor that I heard was like, they were pushing him to do, tribute bands and cover bands and stuff
100%.
like that. And he said, that's not Epi Epstein.
That's not Epi Epstein.
Right.
He is true to the original artist.
Which is great. And you know what? That is really, of my limited time in this podcast, it's hard to find venues that are willing to take the leap on original music.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's a hard thing.
When we were in Divine Right, and this is no lie, there would be lines lined up. We were nobody, but there were people lined up 100-fold to get into the door. I don't know whether it was the drunk driving changes, the changes in the drinking
the ages,
everything like that changed things. But the scene on Long Island is all, we as a band now, we play, we still are true to our originals, but we do play covers.
Yeah,
only
you really have no choice.
You gotta
You have to
play. I want to play. I gotta have an audience. I'm not a singer without an audience.
Agreed.
I don't know if you can.
The audiences are a little less open-minded than they might have been
and
30,
the
20, 30
club
years ago.
owners, they want the money, and I can't blame them for that.
It's a business.
Yeah, they got to make money. That's sure.
But thankfully, through playing the covers of recent, we have definitely started to. The wheel is turning.
That's great.
So and we do very well on Spotify. Thank God.
You know what it is? You got to be tenacious about it and keep putting your art out. And that's one of the reasons why the Long Island Sound podcast was made, was really to give a different platform to kind of expose artists and there are so many great artists on Long Island. I mean, I can see doing this podcast for another 10 years. It's just there's so many people to discover, and that's my hope for the audience, is that they discover. And with that note, what I want to talk about is, let's talk about the next original song that we're going to have the audience hear, called Let It Burn. So just give us a little background in it, and then introduce it, and we'll let the audience judge for themselves.
Let It Burn is about what we've been going through, the times of today. And I think if you listen to the lyrics in it, you kind of get the gist of the song. It was a great little rock and roll track that I actually wrote, and then when
Let It Burn was written originally in the last gasp of Divine Right, when we were ending that band. That was like one of our last tracks, and we actually recorded it in Tiki, and we did a rough recording of it, and then it just sat on a shelf for many years. And when we were doing the new album with Somehow Sorry, we just thought, hey, you remember that song Let It Burn? Why don't we dust it off and see if we can,
see what Jim and
make
Paulie
something out of it. And
it
it turned out to be a really good track, and we really liked it.
It's actually one of my favorites on the album, and it was one of the later tracks. It wasn't one that I was like, okay, we're going to definitely do this song or what have you. So let's see what it comes out to sound like. And to my
it came out
chagrin, it came out pretty cool.
All right.
But it's definitely about what we're all going through right now.
Excellent. So, audience, listen up to Let It Burn, and we'll be right back after the song.
There's a brand new world around you. It's the light of the
Hey, we're back, everybody. That was really a great song. Thanks for sharing that with us. What I really I'm really interested in, Rain and John, is you just put this album out in January. Okay. Some people think, hey, I did the hard work, wrote the songs, laid down the tracks. Tell me what it's like. What do you do to expose this music, this art to the world?
Absolutely nothing. No,
Thanks.
We're done.
Yeah, we did what we had to do. Yeah,
I'm going to bed.
I think we don't look at it as, oh my God, something has got to happen with this album.
Okay.
Matter of time.
It was a labor of love, and I always say to everybody, like, people ask me, why do you still do this? It's just because I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so much fun. It's completely different. People are like, "You're in a what? You're in a rock band?" I'm like, "Yep, believe it or not, I am."
Guilty.
So we don't really have I don't have expectations, but I do believe there are some really good creations on the album. As far as what we're doing to get it out there, right now we are in gig mode. Everything, because we haven't been playing because of the COVID and the pandemic and everything else.
And it's starting to open up now.
Thank God.
I agree.
And we're actually getting calls, for gigs, which hasn't happened in a long time.
Exactly.
So it's nice to see that.
That is. So there is a churn going on. We happen to be doing well. The album is it's doing well as far as I'm concerned. We have about 2,000 monthly listeners. And
congratulations.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, for nobody band, I don't think it's half bad. At least it's starting to turn a little bit. So, we started out, we had maybe 2 listeners for I don't even know how long. So it's starting to branch out. And I can see it in other places too. I can see it in YouTube. I can see it in Facebook. I can see it in random people just saying, hey, when are you guys playing? We're playing an acoustic show actually this Saturday night. And bunch of people are like, wow, what time and where? And I'm like,
that's
who
great.
Are you?
So that's a good thing, yeah.
So just to get to the mechanics of it, for those who don't know, so you cut the album, you go through it, you have it mixed, you mix it yourself, whatever. Do you CD baby? Like, how do you get it on Spotify? Is that how do you take that step?
My digital distribution is with.
She's searching now.
I am. The brain is working here. Oh my Lord! I am getting old. Let me go to the trusty phone here.
By the way, while you're looking at the trusty phone, just so you know, and I'm happy to do this, I'm happy to put your gigs up on the Gig Destiny site. Yeah. So for those who want to know where the Somehow Sorry band is, we'll have links to your website. But the events will also be on our calendar as well. So as people listening to this episode,
and you can always find us at somehowsorry.com.
Right.
Somehow
and that'll be in the chapter link as well. For those
it's the guy with the dog. Let me just flip. I'm not losing you here. It is. Oh goodness gracious! I'm trying to think of this.
She's going through her Rolodex right now.
I am. I can't even think of the distributor. How old am I getting?
It's a distributor. No worries. It'll
do a distributor, and they got the songs out on Spotify,
and they do the work.
They do the work for me.
All right, good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, the story.
We just watched the money roll.
It's rolling.
Yeah.
Rolling.
Hear the register dinging in the background.
Oh yeah, it's dinging, all right. In the wrong direction though.
Well, you know what's great? If you think about it, if you're going out getting gigs, you just put an album out and you're speaking to somebody you've never met before, some new venue, you have a place to point to. You say, you want to know what you can expect either through reputation. You can talk to this venue, that venue. Well, guess what? You can go on Spotify, you can go to our YouTube thing, and this is what you can expect.
Right.
And venues, want to know, okay, is this going to fit in with the audience that they're trying to attract? That's what I think,
Yeah.
What the heck do I know? I don't know anything. So
we're just getting it out there, playing as many shows as we can. And we're going to start to do the printing and pressing and so forth on the CD to try to get it out to some people that might want to
some radio stations and what have you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, those things. And
That's called old school, but that
it is.
that still works. I was talking to my buddy Mike, and he said, "Yeah, the radio stations still want a CD, to look at." I mean, I find it hard praise to people, for anybody who has a CD player anymore, except
I know
in the car,
Yeah. And those are getting few and far between. I was looking for, because I have a CD. I pressed a couple of CDs off, and we were going on a trip, and I'm in John's car, and it's a 2017. And I'm like, there's no CD player in this thing.
Yes, I'm
I can't even listen to myself.
I know. I can't even find my 8-track player anymore.
But then I figured out the Bluetooth, so we were good.
Time just keeps passing us by. I don't get it.
Yeah. Hey, technology. That's what I love about technology. It's always changing, and
Always,
you gotta stay on top of it, and you can do a lot with it.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting just having a couple a married couple that's in a band together. I think this is the coolest thing.
It's unique.
And you're not fighting. You sure you guys are married?
Oh, you were here last night. Yeah, we have spats, trust me.
Okay, that's the ebb and tide of relationships. Just like the
ebb and tide. That's right.
The ebb and tide.
Kid.
It's the rock and roll of a relationship.
No. It's
hopefully more roles.
Johnny and I generally we get along pretty well. So
it's very apparent here.
And the distributor is Distro Kid. I just
Distro Kid. All right, so we're gonna do a plug for Distro Kid.
Distro Kid, yes.
Okay, and hopefully they give you a discount on the next distribution.
That would be nice.
Because they're getting free advertising in a very popular podcast called The Long Island Sound.
There you go. I love the name too. Long Island Sound is brilliant.
And you know how that came about is I was listening to Billy Joel do a presentation at the Long Island Rock and Roll Museum or something. And he said, the Long Island Sound is more than a body of water between Connecticut and Long Island.
Oh, nice.
And that kind of just resonated with me. And the miracle is there's no other podcast named the Long Island Sound. There's the Long Island Sounds.
That's surprising to me. So you definitely got lucky with that.
That's
awesome.
called Kismet Magic.
There are some pretty cool people on Long Island. Billy Joel being one. We were at a ball game today. My son, I mentioned to you earlier, he plays baseball for Malloy College, by the way. Okay. And we were sitting 3 feet from Kevin James.
The comedian.
Yes, he came to see the gig. So,
and we were talking earlier about Kevin James, and Kevin James is connected to hopefully another guest, which I won't name until he says, "Yeah, I'm definitely going to be there." He said yes so far, and we'll talk about that in the future. But it's funny how things come around, full circle.
It is. And he happens to be one of my favorites. I think one of our favorites. And it's funny because I'm sitting next to him, and I'm like, probably going to see you tonight on TV.
In a rerun, right?
So for people listening and I actually got a subscriber from California today. We got to make it more Long Island is what I'm thinking. So pass the coffee and how you doing?
I was born in Jersey. So I have the New Jersey, Long Island combination. I mean, I'm really, everybody knows where I'm from. However, I don't sing the way I speak. At least I hope not.
It's like the British singers, they have the very Cockney voice when they're having conversation, and then they start singing and it's gone. It's like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah, it's weird, right? It is weird.
Hey, what I'd like to talk about is so just to give I want to talk about the song that I introduced the podcast with, which is Baby Jaded. And if you can just tell us a little bit about that. And then what I want to jump into is the third song that we're going to hear, New Age Face. So tell us about Baby Jaded, and then we'll kind of branch into the other song.
Baby Jaded was one of mine, and I was working on it just before the band got shelved and Jim had his accident. That one and New Age Face, which is Paulie's song, our bass player. Those were the two songs we were just starting to get into live and put them in the set and work out the kinks and parts of them. And then, of course, we went over, Jim had his accident and the whole band got shelved for several years. And then when Jim came back and moved back to Long Island and we put it all together again, the first thing we did was let's do Baby Jaded because I want to finish it, and that's what we did. But it's one of mine. I don't remember what inspired it, but probably a guitar riff,
Uh-huh.
or a couple of chords I had put together on a melody, and then I just went from there. But when we got it in the studio, it really blossomed into something even better. You
And
know?
I find lyrically, I like that song.
Yeah,
Lyrically,
it's a pretty good lyric. Yeah.
It's interesting that and I've heard this before. Songs that quote sit on the shelf, or lyrics that sit on the shelf that pulled out at the right time and can fit to what's happening to everybody. It's just interesting. It's like wine. It's now's the time for the song. It wasn't meant to.
Right.
It wasn't meant to come out 5-6 years ago.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
timing is everything in life.
Absolutely.
But I wasn't gonna we had started it. Like I said, we started back before we took the whole hiatus. And I wasn't ever going to let it go, because if I get a song in my head that I write that I like, it never leave. It won't leave until we record it, and
That's great.
now I can move on and do the next song.
Another
But
song
I couldn't let go of it.
on the album, "Sitting on a Sofa," was actually he had just before Jimmy's accident. It's like
that was an
that's
old
like
one.
a meter for us.
Mm-hmm.
He had just written a chorus or something to that song, and when we were doing the album, I was, what was that song that you had started, and was sitting on a red rug, and he's like, no.
And that turned out to be a really good one.
Great
a
track.
really good track on the album.
And that's the track on the album that you just released in January, or
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
okay. What's the name of the album again?
Same Great Taste.
Same Great Taste.
We
Great.
can attribute that to Paulie named that one.
The bass player.
Nice. So tell us about New Age Face, and then we'll listen to it with the audience.
Well, I wish Paulie was here for that one, because he did write it. And again, it was started back.
Same as Baby Jaded. We were starting it, and actually I was playing the bass. Paulie jumped on guitar, and we were trying to work it out, but that wasn't really working. It's kind of a funky song. It was a little out of our wheelhouse. It wasn't what we usually did. It was kind of almost like a Spin Doctors kind of a song. Like it had kind of a groovy bass, and it was different than anything we had done. And when Jim came back and we got the band going again, same as Baby Jaded, we started working on it. And and that was the first song that we did for the album, actually, was New Age Face. Mm-hmm. It was almost, I don't want to say it was a test. We weren't, it was a real song we were going to put on the album. But we were starting to, like Lorraine had learned how to record with the Cubase, and we went and put the tracks down live at one studio, brought them back here. So it was all kind of a learning curve. And New Age Face was the very first one that was kind of the test song to see if we could actually do it. And it came out really, really good.
Excellent.
So Paul Majeri, he sings lead vocal on that track. Johnny happens to sing lead vocal on Baby Jaded, and Let It Burn, I guess you kind of know by now, that was me.
Usually whoever's singing the lead track is the primary writer.
Yeah.
Whoever's singing that's usually how it works with us.
Nice. Very good. All right. Let's take a listen to New Age Face.
Circumstance, round the same sweet romance. I fall in after as
Hey, everybody. We are back. That was a great song, New Age Face. And
That's a rockin' little diddly, right?
yeah. And you know what? You got so much going on. I'm kind of proud of you guys. It's just, you had a pit stop there for a number of years, but you still had that desire to keep on going. And if it's one word that's hanging with me during this episode, it's tenacity.
Oh my God, I was just going to say, my drummer says I have tenacity. Oh my God, that's like our word. Maybe that's what we should have named the band.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's it. That's it. When you're on the verge of giving up.
So many musicians that have, given it up, and not because they don't want to still play. It's just they don't feel comfortable or what have you.
Yeah, well, life takes over and you have kids and jobs and everything, and that's understandable. Because the bond we have was rooted in it, we kept it there. It kind of stayed with us. So we were always forming another band or going out and doing an acoustic show in a coffee house. And we always kept it going.
We sing well together.
Because we harmonize and we were good at it.
They were good at it. Why not do it?
We were pretty good at it, so we kept going with it.
And there's nothing to quit because it's in you, right? So it's
cool. I can't shake it. I've been trying. Trust me, I've tried over.
It's not like you have to hang up the jersey with music. You can keep going. It doesn't. Sure. There's really no age limit to it. You just keep going.
That's me.
What's up in the near future for the band?
We are at One Eye Jack's in Bethpage on May 13th.
Okay.
And we are at Broadway 247 in Hicksville on May 28th. Joe Pickett is opening for us. So that's a really good show.
That'd be a good one, yeah.
You should come down.
Yeah. By the way, check out the episode with Joe Pickett. He was another guest on the Long Island Sound podcast.
Joe is one of our buds.
Yeah, Joe's a buddy.
And he definitely is a good man, great musician. We're also back at Broadway 247 in Hicksville on June 25th. That's an acoustic show. And then June 26th, we're at the Metropolitan with Epi, and we're opening for Sir Paul. They are national tribute.
Beatle tribute guys.
Beatle tribute band. So that's going to be a big show, and that's under Epi's Epi Presents. And we're live at Gunther's Tap Room on July 15th.
And where's Gunther's?
Gunther's
is
actually
in Northport, right down the road.
It's going to be a hometown show.
That's an easy one.
Nice.
We're going to put the boots on for that one.
Great.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's going to be an all-nighter. So we definitely have a bunch of shows lined up.
Rain, what's the website again?
Our website is somehowsorry.com.
Wonderful. I tell you, it was really a pleasure to have you guys. Thanks for all your insights, your tenacity.
Thank you.
There's a lot to learn in what you've done in the business. And I end my podcast this way. And it's something that a friend of mine heard from somebody else. I actually heard from Joe Torre, who said, we can account for what's in our bank and what we own. We can never account for how much time we have left. And the fact that you gave me more than an hour of your time and your story has been a blessing. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you for your time.
Much.
Truly.
I look forward to having you guys back on the podcast, and we're going to dive into your music. People will be able to hear it through the podcast and get the links to Spotify. And I wish you all the best. Okay.
Thank you
so much.
Great being here.
Yes.
Be well. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.